Good day. We'd like to thank you for your time reviewing our fine foods analyses. My name is Robot Chicken. This is Tron, Squeaky, and Vacuum. As you may have noticed, our appearance isn't quite normal. Trust us, we don't dress like this every day. It's our intention to represent robots and machines, which will be part of our analysis. First, we've come up with a glossary of terms which you may or may not be familiar with. Vacuum will be pointing out a few key terms before starting our presentation, just so we're all on the same page.
Today I would like to point out some key terms for Kay Smith that are necessary for her to know during our presentation. The first key term needed to know by her are agency costs. This is a type of internal cost that arises from or must be paid to an agent acting on behalf of a principal. For example, managers are paid by the shareholders to act on behalf of the shareholders. The next key term needed to know for our presentation are joint products. These are products in which cost arises from the manufacturing of a separate product line that have the same raw products or materials. For example, in fine foods, the initial production line has the same raw products until you get to the temporarily warehouse, in which case the materials are separated into different types of product. Another key term needed to know are the contribution margin, which is a per unit measure of a product's gross operating margin calculated simply as the product's price minus its total variable costs. In fine foods, this is relevant because we use it to calculate the compensation of employees. Another key term are byproducts. Those are products that are a result of manufacturing of a primary product but are not wanted or needed. In fine foods case, a byproduct would be scraps of food. Activity-based allocation is another key term we like to use. And there are two stages when allocating activity-based costing. The first step is to divide the expenses of certain overhead activities to a per event cost. The second step is to allocate the activity cost to each product. Fine Foods uses this method when allocating media and sales promotions. Batch level is when a cost associated with a batch of items is associated with a batch of items but not directly traceable to an individual item within the batch. For example, this could be the number of setups the SMU product takes when going through the production line. And finally, cost driver, which is any activity or series of activities that take place within an organization that causes costs to be incurred. An example would be to weight the allocated overhead costs.
An assumption that Fine Foods makes is that allocating all costs to its products will lead to a true and accurate measure of each product's profitability. But unfortunately, this is wrong. Allocating all costs to products will not lead to an accurate measure of each product's profitability. We will get into more detail about this later. Currently, the type of costing method used by Fine Foods is considered a volume-based costing method. So why does Fine Foods use volume-based costing? Fine Foods uses this costing system because all products produced are virtually the same or homogeneous. It is a simple and uncomplicated method used to allocate overhead costs to the product. The main cost driver used here to allocate overhead costs with volume-based costing is based on weight. The problem with using weight as a cost driver here is that some of Fine Foods products are heavier, bulkier, and denser than some of their other products, resulting in more cost because of its heavier weight. So is weight accurately allocating overhead? No. A cost driver of weight with volume-based costing inaccurately allocates overhead costs for SMU2 and has resulted in higher profit margins for products that are lighter in weight and lower profit margins for products that are heavier in weight, because weight is what determines costs. The consequences of using volume-based costing to allocate overhead are that management doesn't accurately know the underlying profit margins for each product because of inaccurate costing information, which can lead to horrible decision making. For example, management might be tempted to cut a heavy product because they perceive it to have a low profit margin because of its weight, but that same product could actually have a high profit margin, but you wouldn't know it using the volume-based costing method. So should Fine Foods continue using this method? Fine Foods should change the costing method it uses because it can lead to poor management decisions based on wrong information brought on by volume-based costing. Overall, profit will suffer, so it's imperative that Fine Foods overhauls the current costing allocation system in favor of an activity-based costing system. So how will activity-based costing help Fine Foods? Activity-based costing provides a more accurate view of product cost. The allocation base we suggest using for activity-based costing differs from the one used in volume-based costing. Instead of allocating overhead with weight, we will use machine hours as an allocation base. Using activity-based costing with machine hours will account for costs that go into making the product, thus making allocation of overhead more efficient. So again, we want to allocate overhead based on machine hours rather than weight. With accurately allocating overhead costs by using machine hours, this would provide precise information on product margins for SMU2, leading to accurate costing of products. It is imperative that Fine Foods stops making decisions based on inaccurate information from volume-based costing based on weight. Fine Foods needs accurate information to make accurate decision based on costing. If management wants to know the underlying profitability of their own products, they must change to activity-based costing with a cost driver of machine hours. We feel this is so important that I'll say it once again. If management wants to know the underlying profitability of their own products, they must change to activity-based costing with a cost driver of machine hours.
How Fine Foods define special orders is concerning. They define a special order as any contract that may be canceled within 1 year of delivery. From an accountant's point of view, the definition of a special order differs dramatically. Special orders are typically defined as orders accepted when the firm has idle capacity, and they are usually offered at a discounted price. They are also typically one-time offers. The way Fine Foods defines special orders needs serious reevaluations. Benefits of accepting special orders include higher revenues. They currently account for 2% of Fine Foods' total revenue. Any excess capacity can be utilized, and one connection that we found between Fine Foods' definition of special orders and ours is that cancelable orders within 1 year won't cause any losses for the company. This is because product MP is also used as a base for other product lines within Fine Foods, and it can be frozen for up to 1 year. If an order is canceled, it doesn't create issues. Product NP is a joint product as well as a byproduct. As Vacuum defined for you at the beginning of our discussion, product NP is a joint product because, as this illustration demonstrates, It is created through common processes along with other production lines. We are concerned with whether these joint costs are being allocated fairly to product NP. This is something the cost management team will need to further analyze. After the split-off point, NP can take on all of its own variable costs. Also, NP is considered a byproduct because it's created alongside other production lines as joint products, but it only contributes to 2% of Fine Foods' total revenue, which is, of course, a favorable addition. It is meager in comparison to the total revenues. After analyzing the way Fine Foods handles special orders, we find that since contribution margin includes fixed costs as an input, and they're using contribution margin to figure out whether or not they should accept special orders, they may be getting inaccurate financial data, leading to special orders being rejected and loss of revenues. We suggest that Fine Foods implement the contribution approach when deciding whether or not to accept a special order, basically leaving fixed costs out of the equation because they are irrelevant in the decision process.
Performance evaluation should be a positive experience and contribute to the overall welfare of the organization. Performance appraisal is very effective to improve performance, productivity, and for development of employees. This is especially so in project-based jobs, which require every team member to complete a task before the rest of the team can move ahead. The Fine Foods team-based is not evaluated properly. Currently, we use a team-based reward system based on operating profit. We strongly believe that the approach should be based on contribution margin for all three strategic marketing units, aka SMUs. For example, using the contribution margin of SMU 1 to calculate SMU 2 is very unfair because SMU 2 isn't able to control any of the costs of SMU 1, yet SMU 1 is able to control all the costs for SMU 2. I believe our company is only as strong as our weakest link. We strongly encourage an individual reward-based system and relevant performance evaluation basis. They will only be able to feel and control if we adequately allocate the correct cost when using financial information. We further believe that our company should introduce the balanced scorecard into the performance metrics. Thank you very much, and now I will pass it to Vacuum.
Overall, we have a few strategies we would like to implement. The first strategy we want to implement is to overhaul the current cost system and implement the ABC system. We feel like this will help Kay evaluate the costs more effectively and help lower them. The second recommendation that we have is to get rid of the special orders. We believe that they're kind of a hybrid right now and that they don't fit the actual definition of a special order. And finally, we want to do individual-based compensation. We feel like this would be a better way to help increase the competition between the employees and help make Fine Foods more competitive as a place to work at and foster a healthy competition.
We just want to thank you for watching our video and say goodbye. Hopefully you really enjoyed it and pick us as a finalist.